Hi folks, welcome to this video on sports injuries. What we're going to look at is a few acronyms today. We're going to look at SALTAPS. I know the title says SALTAPS, price and concussion. We're going to do SALTAPS, concussion and price in that order. So when we're looking at injuries and when we're trying to manage an injury with a performer, it's advisable that you follow the SALTAPS method of doing an analysis of an injury. So hopefully, as you can see here, what we've got is we've got the S, the A, the L, the T, the A, the P, and the S, and that spells SALTAPS. So when we're looking at an injury, say, put yourself in the position of a physiotherapist on the side of a sports setting, the field, the court, the track, wherever you are. So generally, the first S in SALTAPS is stop and see, but I would go with C. It's up to the referee, the official, to stop the game. But see what happened. Is this an impact? Is it a bad landing? Did the player just pull up? They were running along and then they just pulled up short and now they're waving you over, holding the back of the leg. So the S in SALTAPS, the first S, stands for C. So now you approach your player, the one that's injured, and the next thing you've got to do is ask. So ask them what happened. Get them to confirm it. Was it a bad landing? Was it an impact? Did they just pull up? Also ask about pain. Are they, what kind of pain are they in? How severe is it? How bad is it? What type of pain? For example, is it a sharp stabbing pain? Is it a dull ache? Is it more of pins and needles, like a tingly thing? That can start to give you information as to what might have happened. And crucially, the location of the pain. Where is it that is injured? Where is it that is hurting right now? So the L in SALTAPS then stands for look. Let's look at the injured area. Let's look for any swelling, any deformity, any bruising, any bleeding. Also, don't forget, we have 2 arms and 2 legs. So if they've injured one knee, look at one knee, then look at the other. Can you see a difference between the two? We should be symmetrical. So if you can see a definite difference on one knee or one ankle compared to the other side, then we know there's an injury here. The T in SALTAPS stands for touch. So crucially, will they let you touch the injured area? Now, when you see footballers in particular rolling around on the floor, clutching the knee and the ankle, you know yourself, when you're genuinely injured, you don't want anyone going near you. So you wouldn't be rolling around on it. So will they let you touch? If they don't, that is a good sign that this is quite a bad injury and it is genuine, it is legitimate. But if they do let you touch it, can you feel for any swelling, any deformity? Can you feel any heat coming off the injured area? If you can feel heat coming off it, that's a sign that it's already becoming inflamed. So there is a genuine injury here. Also, can they feel you touching them? Because if they can't, or they can't get the same sensations, there might be some nerve damage here. And that's why they're not picking up on you touching the injured area. Now the A, the second A, stands for active. Now active, remember, when we're talking about mechanics of breathing and stretching, active always means you are contracting muscles yourself to do something. So active, can they move the injured area themselves? Can they flex their elbow? Can they extend their elbow? Can they flex the knee? Can they plantar flex the ankle? Can they get any movement themselves? The P is then passive. Will they let you move the injured area for them? And again, it comes back to this touch point here. Remember, if they're genuinely injured, if something is genuinely injured, it's very unlikely they're going to want you touching it and moving it because they're not in control of that situation. So again, that's a good indicator as to how severe the injury is, whether they will let you move it or not. And finally, the second S is strength. Now, can they weight bear? So if this is an ankle injury, a knee injury, something happening in the upper or lower leg, can they stand up on it? Can they put some weight through it? Obviously, if an injury to the wrist or the elbow or the shoulder, don't get them doing a handstand or anything like that. We're not talking about weight bearing on the upper limb the same as the lower limb, but can they put force through it? So can they put some weight through their hand? Can they push against you? For example, can they push themselves up off the ground with that upper limb injury? So that's what SALTAPS stands for. And the crucial thing for your exam is it's not just enough knowing what each letter stands for. Can you give an example? Think of your AO2 points. So it's always worth writing these down and putting a sporting example. Put yourself in the position of a physiotherapist. What would you be looking for? What would you be asking? Where would you be touching? What would you be feeling for? What would you be asking them to move, etc., etc. So can you give an example for each of these areas? So what happens when we're dealing with a concussion? You know, you might have someone who's unconscious, so you can't really go through the SALTAPS method with them. So when we're dealing with a concussion, we have something called the 6 R's, and you need to know these, and you need to know them in the right order. Concussion is very, very high profile at this moment, as it should have been forever, really. So it's going to continue to be high profile. So here's how we deal with a suspected concussion. So the first R is recognise. So can you recognise the symptoms of a concussion? Now, if they are unconscious, that's fairly conclusive, but very often they're not unconscious, but they've still got concussion. So, you know, are they confused? Have they got any memory loss? Are they nauseous? Have they got any dizziness? Do they suddenly feel tired? These are other symptoms of having a concussion. So the second R is remove. If you suspect, even just suspect, that they have a concussion, you remove them immediately from the situation. There's something called second hit syndrome with concussion. If they've got even a minor concussion, but they get hit on the head again very soon after, there is a very high risk of a serious brain injury taking place. So even if you suspect a concussion is taking place, you remove them from the situation immediately. The next crucial thing and the next R is to refer that performer. You are not a miracle worker. You are not expected to diagnose, treat and manage all injuries, and concussion is one that needs specialist management. So you then refer that performer to a neurological specialist, a GP who is trained in doing this. You know, someone who works in A&E hospital, someone who has got specialist training in dealing with concussion, so they can then manage the situation. So next comes probably the most important, yet the most frustrating part of the process. Fourth R is rest. The performer must rest until they are symptom free. You can't risk them going back, getting another hit on the head when they are already suffering from concussion. So the fourth R is rest. The fifth R then is recover. Now, it's not just a case of going, I'm symptom free, I'm fully recovered. Yes, you've got to be symptom free, but it's got to be authorised by a medical professional. They've got to reassess you and go, yes, I can confirm that you are symptom free and you are now fully recovered from the concussion. And then the sixth and the final R is return. The performer is now clear to return to competitive action. So again, the important thing with this one is knowing them in the correct order. So you could get a question asking you generally about the 6 R's, but they could give you 2 at the beginning, 2 at the end, and ask you what are the 2 in the middle. So you do need to know these 6 R's in the correct order and a brief description or explanation of each one. So finally then I thought I'd bring a nice bright image instead of my type. We've got price. So you've got an injury, it's not a concussion, it might be a sprain, a strain, something like that. Price is the procedure that we use to manage in the short term any injuries that our players suffer, our performers suffer. So the P stands for protect the injury. So protect your injury from further damage, use a support or a splint, something like that. The R stands for rest it. You don't want to create any further damage to that injury. So rest it. If it's a genuine injury, bring them off. Don't make them play on all this stuff about playing on an injury. If you value your player and you want them to be fit and well as soon as possible, you don't let them play on an injury. It may be that they need to use crutches so they fully rest that injury so they're not weight bearing through the knee or the ankle joint, something like that. We provide ice, or we apply ice, to the injured area. Ice is a natural painkiller, so it can numb the pain, but ice also causes vasoconstriction, so the narrowing of your blood vessels. If I can narrow blood vessels to an injured area, I can reduce the amount of swelling and bruising that is going to take place in that injured area. So it's vitally important. We say there that we put ice on for a few minutes. Generally, I would only put ice on for 10 minutes, remove it for a few minutes, then apply it again for 10 minutes. You don't want to put ice on for long periods of time. You could get ice burns and other such injuries. If we can, we compress the injury. So we provide a bit of compression there. Again, that's going to try and squeeze any swelling or bruising out of the area and also minimize any further swelling or bruising that may occur in the area. And if we can, we elevate that injury. So if it's a wrist injury, something like that, put them in a sling. If it's an ankle injury, knee injury, we can lay them down and put the leg in the air as is done in this injury. Again, that's going to minimize swelling and bruising because gravity is going to pull swelling away from the area. So this video has been about SALTAPS, how initially diagnose or see what injury is taking place, the 6 R's in terms of concussion, and price, how do we manage in the short term an injury that takes place in a sports venue. So hopefully you found this video useful, folks.